Hi everybody, Sagittarius998 Adam. And a couple of weeks ago, I promised a Reddit user that I was going to do a beginner's guide to South America, and so I am going to do it. Now, you might notice I'm doing this introduction. It's 9:32 on the 1st of June, and there was already a previous video recorded that was the second part, which was the Colombia. Well, guess what? I recorded Chile about 2 weeks ago, and the file was corrupted. Well, it wasn't corrupted. It was I had a problem with the recording, and the audio was fine. Audio was perfect. The video, unfortunately, was not. I didn't want to just make it an audio only, so I'm going to do the same thing that I did with that one, and I'm going to begin this introduction. So, with Chile, right off the bat, you see this. Most of Chile is mapped except, oh wait, the south. All of this right here, this green stuff, is not mapped out. Some in the mountains, there's no roads up in this part, and so you won't be there unless it's a photosphere. One thing to notice as well, the northern part is all desert. It's the dry Atacama desert, the driest desert in the world. Then right in through here you start getting a little more Mediterranean feel by Valparaiso, Santiago, Concepcion. It's kind of like Italy or Spain. Then down in through here you start to get colder and colder. More temperate, more like, you know, the northern US. And down in through here you get, Argentina, you get cold desert. But here it's pretty similar. It's also very cold down by Punta Arenas. So all of it is similar to Argentina. However, it is wetter everywhere except the north. Everywhere in Chile will be wetter than corresponding areas in Argentina. It's on the western edge of the mountains. Precipitation comes off the Pacific. It hits the mountains. Argentina gets a rain shadow, which causes there to be a desert throughout the entirety right here of Patagonia, while the Chilean part of Patagonia is pretty wet, actually very wet in fact. And it's almost kind of Icelandic looking. So, looking at terrain, you notice that there's mountains. That's really the Punta Arenas. This part is kind of flat, but this is all mountains. This is all mountains. Then there's a bit of a valley here. Santiago's in a valley. And then up in the north, there's a little bit sort of this desert type of, there's mountains popping up all over the place. If you look at Nevada, it's the same thing. But really, the big story with Chile in terms of terrain is mountains, mountains, mountains. It's all, most of Chile is in the mountains. So, with that, I'm going to move on to a challenge. This was not sent in, but I got it from the Geoguessr subreddit. It's a challenge by Chebub. I actually played this already because, well, I did it for the other video. But it doesn't matter, really. Yes, I know where the locations are, but actually I don't because the locations are different. So much for that, actually. In fact, it's much better, but hopefully you get some of the locations I did last time. That would be nice, because that way I could present them via challenge. So one thing that you notice here, mountains. That's a big mountain. It's snow-capped. At the same time, though, this is really dry. So right now I'm thinking this part, by Copapio maybe, because it's desert, but the mountains are still cold enough that there's snow. So it's really dry. We're on a dirt road, which is not usually the best sign for getting clues. However, it's no longer a dirt road here. Hostal Viama. I can say this. I'm pretty sure I've been here before in Geoguessr, which means nothing. I've been here in a daily, I think, but because I recognize this town, but it means nothing, honestly. It's Avenida Tocopilla. One of these is probably the one I'm on, but I don't know that for sure. There's gas in the other direction, or you can deposit gas. I don't know, one of the two. It doesn't matter. A little bit of lag, a lot of lag apparently, which is going to be unfortunate if this continues. Well, okay. mean, I'm connected to 5, so it's not that. I don't know what it is. Okay, yeah, so Desert Adventure, that's CL, obviously. We knew that. San Pedro de Atacama. And Uyuni, Bolivia. We're not in Bolivia, so Salar de Uyuni in San Pedro de Atacama. We're in the middle of the Atacama Desert. Tocopilla was that avenue, so I came out of Calama Domingo Atienza, I think. Atienza. What was this? Actually, it might say. Maybe not. What if I take this road? I can't. Okay, so I go north. North and it curves. Interesting. Oh, I go north and it curves. Which means I'm probably... Yeah, so you go here. Yeah, in the middle of the Atacama Desert. There is still snow at the top. I don't know when this was taken. But there is snow at the top of the peaks. Peaks to the east, right here. Saraka board. That's that one that you see right there, I think. And it's snow-capped. So... You can really, the Atacama is very dry, and that, I mean, that's really, that's all there is to the Atacama, in honesty, but, you know, if you see desert, it's going to be up in the north of Chile. It's going to be pretty easy to narrow down that way, because you don't have to scan. The nice thing about Chile as well is, it's so thin, you can zoom in far and still see the entire country. Especially when you're down south, because then you can eliminate the coastal region where there's all the fjords and stuff. There's no street view, like I said. But the nice thing, you can be zoomed in this far, which covers practically every town. Like, I mean, yeah, this isn't a town. These are towns. You can zoom in to where you see every single town, and you can still look at the entire country. That's why Chile is really nice. One thing that I cannot figure out, though, is... where exactly I started. Did I actually start on the 23? It's almost seems weird, but I kind of feel like it's actually the case. Although, you know, I don't really care. No, I started down here, which makes more sense. Not the 23, but there are some of these roads, like the 23, these might not be paved roads. Because there's very few, not too much traffic here, so it could have been unpaved, but it was that one, not really a problem. This isn't about the score. Okay, this location I recognize because I had it before, but right off the bat, what you see here is Mediterranean-style vegetation. A little colder seeming, but it's Mediterranean-style vegetation. More or less, if you looked at this, you would think maybe it's Italy. Is the ambulance? The ambulance is ahead of us, and it continues to be ahead of us, so that's not going to help. So let's go down here. Advice always. This isn't just for Chile, this isn't just for South America. Advice is go downhill. Cities are formed in valleys. They're not formed in valleys, but they're built in valleys, is what I meant to say. Playa, so we're on the beach. And what you can tell usually is, if you look at any city map, they're in the valleys, and not only that, they're in the city centers especially, will be, because like Rio, for example, look at Rio. Rio, the favelas, the slums are up in the mountains, but the prime real estate is, the city center is down at sea level. And so if you, at any point, if you're tasked with the choice, go uphill or downhill, go downhill. I mean, there might be some cases where, you know, maybe you should look over onto the other side, or if you see dust, you're on a dirt road and you see dust coming from uphill, then maybe go uphill. But otherwise, go downhill. You generally have a better chance of finding stuff. Okay, so it's Valparaiso. Okay, I mean, it's Valparaiso. That Mediterranean thing checks out. There's Valparaiso. It's right next to Santiago. Right in the center of that Mediterranean feel. And it certainly has the climate for it. So now, you know, where did I start? Orompeyo and Carapanle. Possibly in here. Carapangue, Orompeo. So I started on this road right there. 5,000 points. Okay, next round. So, what you see here, I didn't have this location, by the way. What you see here is mountains, but you see, I mean, look at this. If independently of anything, you could easily say this is Pennsylvania or West Virginia. I've been in places in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and New York that look exactly like this. So that's actually, that could have been a government sign that was covered up, or I think it's just ripped off. But the big thing with that is, yeah, so you're in the mountains, and it's temperate feel, which I told you was this part. It's down in here, not as much here, I think, but down over here, Pucón, and north of Puerto Montt. Camping Vergara, Playa Blanca. So there's a beach, but the beach is going to be on a lake, because we're in the mountains. So that's not really... So here, Chilean government sign. The important thing with Chilean government signs is, well, first of all, recognize... How can you recognize it's Chile? Because ultimately, here it's nice, you know, we're saying, okay, this is what Colombia looks like, but... Or this is what Chile looks like, but... How... You know, how do you actually distinguish? Well, Chile, obviously, you have the desert. So the Atacama Desert is going to be similar in Bolivia, in this part of Bolivia, in this part of Peru. But here, this type of mountain that looks so temperate is only going to be in this part of Chile. It's not going to be in Argentina. It's only going to be in Chile. It might be just over the border, but similar region. But one thing is, Chile government signs, Chilean colors, blue and red, like the Texas flag. Like the Texas flag. So, if you see those, then it's a Chilean government sign. One thing that I also neglected to mention at the beginning is that roads in Chile follow a pattern. That's B. Right at the top of the country are A roads. A45 is right here, starting from A, probably 01, and down by Punta Arenas to Y something or another. There's actually no Y roads in here, but there are. Yeah, Y290. So if you see X, then you're gonna be then you're gonna be up in possibly by Puerto Montt. Chiloé, I think, has X's. Actually, it has W's. So Chiloé is kind of an interesting part of Chile, and maybe we'll be placed in Chiloé. I know one of the locations is in Chiloé. That's possible in this challenge because I had it last time. Hopefully we'll be there again, actually. Servicio Salud Araucanía Sur. Okay. I'm gonna quickly just scan this for Araucanía. I don't expect to find that. I didn't. Okay. As I thought. Okay, so that's actually the lake, and we're done in this direction. So let's go north. We did go north. Let's go south. So, I mean, with Chile, what often you have to look for is intersections. That's going to be your biggest bet to finding a road number, is intersections. Once you find the road number, it's easy to find exactly where you are based on that pattern. But intersections, there's rarely going to be road signs just randomly, oh yeah, just you're driving along and then there's going to be a road sign. It's usually you have to come up to an intersection between two other roads, and it should say the road number. At worst, there's going to be some sort of marker saying how many kilometers you are from some town in that direction. So, you know, this is a touristy area for sure. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful area. Like, I love the Appalachians. And when I look at this, I think of the Appalachians, like a taller version of the Appalachians, which is the Southern Andes, essentially, boiled down. So look at that from the distance, no clues on that sign. So here you have intersection. You have an S road towards Pucón. So I was pretty right about that part. So S roads, you know, S905, and I think it's just S905 and just in both directions. Yeah, between Pucón and Payacaburga, which is this, S919, S905. You could, if you didn't know where we were even looking at this, you could just scan and eventually find the S roads. You don't have to know where Pucón is or Caburga. You could just look for S roads. That's the nice thing about Chile. One thing I also noticed there is it said Red Interlagos at the top, meaning interlake, or basically web. Red is web, like it could refer to the internet. But so this part of Chile is sort of known as the Interlake, Interlagos, because there's so many lakes here. So if you see that, and you see that sort of park-style sign that says Red Interlagos, you're going to be in this part with all the S roads. That's just another tip, if you see that. So I came from the S909. So we've got everything we need, more or less. 919, 923, 911, 909. So, okay, because that's the lake. Yeah, right. So, I don't know where I started. I mean, here. It curved around. I think that's the curve, so maybe here. Yeah, off by a point, a bit further up. But that was a beautiful location. Okay, I know where this is because I had it. Just a disclaimer. However, what you see here, again, Mediterranean. I mean, look at this. If you look at this, these types of trees, you think Italy immediately. And, you know, you see land over there. There's not really a city. There's some farms. So going in that direction is not necessarily going to be helpful. And actually, in this case, we do want to go uphill. So a little bit of spoiler, last time I had trouble finding which direction is the way to go, but it was just a trial and error, honestly, and then I ended up going up this way, and it was the way to go. So here, going up, you see it is Mediterranean, but as you go up this hill, you see a little bit more of a colder feel to it. A little more temperate, still retaining some of those Mediterranean scrubbish characteristics, but you could easily see this being more Poland, Romania, like the Transylvania, I mean by Romania, I'm not talking about Constanta, or I don't remember. I think anyway, that's not important at all. You see a little more Central Europe feel to this, which puts it a little bit further down on the map. Not Santiago, but perhaps the Puerto Montt area, the Temuco area. So that's where I'm going to initially put this. And then, you know, what you know, you need next is an intersection, and then we can work from there. And here we go. There's an intersection. Unfortunately, there's no signage. Well, there is. Chachaques and Altos Vargas, but that's not really all that helpful. But what I can do is just continue down along this road until I find a numbered road. Because that's the way you do things in Chile. Look for the numbered roads, and then stuff is easy. Because really, I mean, with South America, I see Brazil, the first identifier is Portuguese. But in other countries, what you really need to look for is just the way they make their roads. And with Chile, you have those letters with 3 digits after them, and you can really just glean a lot of stuff from that and really pinpoint it down. As we'll see later with other countries, there's other ways that countries do their designations, and you'll be introduced to those later in this series. I got turned around. Yes, we did, because we're going south. I'm not exactly sure why there's a lag. I apologize for that. You've seen it in other videos of mine. There really shouldn't be any lag, but there is. there obviously happens to be once in a while. I have less stuff open than usual, to be honest, so it should be better. But it isn't. Okay. So, yeah, just going along. Again, you get a coastal feel from this. At least I do. You know, looking at this, I mean, yeah, sure. You know, there's a gigantic area of water, but when you look at this, you get kind of this marine type vegetation look from all these plants. Again, possibly Mediterranean feel, but a little bit colder is what I like to describe it as. And that's the nice thing about Chile as well, is, you know, it's thin. There's so many climate zones, so it's easy to tell what part you're in, then zoom in, and Chile is quite simple actually to get stuff from. There's a sign right there. That's the important sign. I'll get to it at some point. So, Ruta de las Islas, so we're on an island. That's what that indicates. Matao is on the, well, Via Quinchao. That sounds a little not Spanish. It's W, between Achao and Matao. And it's Chiloe. So, yes, spoiler, I already knew it was Chiloe from the start because of the fact that I played it before, but Chiloe. Chiloe you will get sometimes, and you will also confuse it with the actual just country of Chile, but it is more of a marine feel, and it's flatter than this part. For example, in here you've got really tall mountains. In here it's sort of flatter, much like Puerto Montt, but a little colder. So, Achao Quinchao, and Matao is down there, presumably, somewhere. There it is, Matao. So I started on the water, which is this road, you know, right there, more or less, actually, over in here. And in fact, that's the same mistake I made last time. But yeah, it's Chile. Actually, it's an island off of Chiloe, which is even more interesting. But it's the Road of the Islands is what it was called, or the Route of the Islands. And so I guess if you see that sign, Chile, but what you also could tell is it's a W road, which is what it is in Chiloe. I believe it's V roads in Puerto Montt, and then here it may also be W roads, or it might just be, there's not really any, it's X roads actually here. So W roads are only on Chiloe, which is good to know. I actually didn't know that myself. And now we have a photosphere. It's a city. So this is relying a little bit more on knowledge of horario apertura. That's just opening schedule. So you got palm trees. However, it does seem kind of dry. Like looking at that, it seems pretty dry, which is why I'm saying it's either Antofagasta, Iquique, or Arica. And I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to say anything yet. I'm going to look at each city to see if there's a pier. Is there a pier in Antofagasta? Muelle Histórico. Yes, there is. I don't know if that's where we are for sure, but it's a potential. There's a park. Is there one in Arica? Because there's not one in Iquique. No, not really. So I'm going to say it is Antofagasta, because you see, this feels kind of dry. But I might be completely off base. I'm not ever great with photospheres. No, it was actually in Valparaiso again. Or what was in Viña del Mar. Yeah, there's another same idea. So looking at that, it's actually not going to show. It will. A different photosphere, though. But here, you can actually see a little bit better, because in the other one, I thought it was desert, because if you look at, unfortunately we weren't placed along the coast, up in the north, but if you look at, before Iquique, when you come into Iquique, here, what you see is all this rock. Just, you see the city there, and then you see just barren rock. And what I thought was, I thought it was barren rock in the distance, but it was actually just that scrubland vegetation that Valparaiso has. And one thing that I also want to show that we did not see is this, kind of two areas actually. One of these is this, which is the far south, Icelandic-like look. I mean, if you look at this, you think we're in Iceland, or Greenland. Not really Greenland, but Iceland for sure. Or Norway, top of Norway. It's another area that's sort of characteristic. It's the Magdalenas, what is this region called? It's the Magallanes y la Antártica region. Region, and then by Punta Arenas, I guess I can show this as well. It's kind of flatter, like you see here. Again, no trees, way too cold for trees. Tree-less vegetation, not really an Icelandic look to it, but a tree-less look to it for sure. So, I guess hopefully that was a good introduction to Chile, and I'll continue on with the other countries of South America. Until next time, see you.